Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the TT Time with Dr. Tarver is a wellness-based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. It's August. Oh my gosh, July went by so quickly. I cannot believe it is time for us to already be back to school here in the South. But here we are. We are going to be focusing this month on highlighting the joys, triumphs, gratitudes, and growth that come along in life because it is National Wellness Month. So we are very excited about being able to get into this season of wellness. And first up on the list is Black Boy Joy, African American males choosing happiness. So you're probably like, okay, I'm here for it, but where is this coming from? So I have been so excited to see the Olympics for a lot of different reasons. However, one of the things that has given me all of the good joy is every time I see Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav. I mean, they are the epitome of this is Christmas, and I got that thing that I really wanted that I didn't think I was going to be able to get. I've been waiting so long to receive it, and I am over the moon happy about it. They have just really been such a pleasure to watch, and the genuineness of them being able to real time experience supporting people at the Olympics, advocating for people at the Olympics, and just bringing some good old fashioned commentary. And I got to tell you, I'm here for all of it. But I will also tell you that I am just very excited about Dwayne Wade launching a nail polish line with his 6-year-old daughter Kavia. Like that is the most precious thing. If you are the father of a daughter, you know how much the little girls get pleasure out of going to the nail salon with you, and you getting your nails done when they get their nails done. Like they so much enjoy that father daughter time, and to be able to share an experience like that with your daughter, like so precious. I know some of you are like me who don't have your dads anymore, and that is just one of the cutest things. Because I just like a good father daughter salon day anyway. But I will also just say shout out to Dwayne Wade for highlighting Noah Lyles, who is the fastest man in the world. And also has had a very nice coiffure he has been wearing. His hair has been fabulous during the track meets, but also Wade shouted him out for the pedicure, the manicure that he had, because it's just so important for us to recognize that men have to engage in self care too, and taking good care of their bodies is a part of that self care. And I have just been so very happy to see men loving on each other. There are two guys at my church, and they are so sweet. One is our drummer Jacob, and the other is our organist Sean. And like the room just lights up when they come in. They're just all smiles, and they're very welcoming and encouraging. And I will tell you, it just makes a difference when you're in spaces where black men are choosing to be joyful, one, but also to spread that joy. And why is that so important? Why is Black Boy Joy so important? Why are you so excited about that on this episode? Because I understand. I don't know the experience firsthand because I'm not a black male, but I understand how difficult it is sometimes for black boys and black men to be joyful with all of the things that are going on around them in any given moment. To look at the news itself can be very disheartening. Coverage showing black males being incarcerated, arrested, abused, killed. It is incredibly daunting to get the reserve, I think, to get up every day and still have a positive outlook on life with all of the things that could easily cause one to be negative, to be pessimistic, to feel hopeless. And yet, our black males are choosing to be joyful. The subtle reactions that people have when you're walking down the street and they cross the street when they see you coming, when people grab their purses and their other belongings and hold them tight when a black male passes by, when you are viewed as a threat, whether you are a little boy or a grown man, because of your size or because of your skin color or because of your hair or because of your height, because of your voice, and feeling like you cannot be yourself and be comfortable in your skin because it makes people uncomfortable. Being followed around in stores, being denied access to things simply because you're a black male, being questioned about whether or not you qualify for something, whether that's economically, educationally, athletically. I can only imagine how that just chips away at one's spirit, or how it has the potential to. And despite all of those obstacles, black boys and men are showing up and choosing joy. You probably have seen the hashtag Black Boy Joy. You might have seen it from mothers predominantly, who are just so excited about their boys being able to be children, being able to be happy. You've seen the books, and you've seen the movies, and you've seen the shirts that are highlighting the importance of positive images of happy black boys. And why is that so important? Because it allows our black boys to grow up with confidence and to be able to let go of some of that baggage that can hold them down, that can allow them to feel like they're not worthy or they're not valuable, or they have to choose things that make other people comfortable and not do things that allow them to utilize their strengths and walk in their purpose. It reaffirms for them that they have a right to be here, but they also have a right to be here and be happy. I think it also challenges the stereotypes that we have sometimes with regard to black boys. The media is unfortunately a group that sometimes can perpetuate these myths as well about black boys and black men. That you are a danger, that you are a threat, that people need to be careful about you, that you have a dark side to you, that you have criminal intent, that there's only a matter of time before you will act on these animalistic urges. And we want to really get to a place where we're able to acknowledge the legitimate struggle that black boys and black men face while being able to allow them to have a positive self esteem and recognize that they have spaces and places where they're allowed to be, and allowed to feel, and allowed to affirm themselves, and allowed to be able to celebrate themselves and their accomplishments. In essence, to be able to be free. Now, we all have a role in that as well, in our families, in our schools, in our communities, in our churches, of creating spaces for black boys and men to be able to experience joy, creating spaces where they are able to develop positively, and able to have what they need in order for them to be the best versions of themselves and to live up to all the great potential that is within them. So let me get off my praise pedestal and talk about what that can look like. It's important for me to say that representation matters. All black males need to see positive images of black males. They need to be around positive black males. They need to be taught by black males. They need to be comforted by black males. They need to be redirected and given feedback by black males. They need to be supported and nurtured in becoming fathers by other black men. They need to be able to see people in various sizes with various voices doing various things so they don't feel like they have to be limited to only certain things. One of my friends growing up in high school gave an example of going to see a school counselor, and he's a very smart young man, and went on to do and is still doing amazing things. But the school counselor told him he may need to consider trades. He didn't need to look at college. And how disheartening of an experience. And I imagine other people have had those experiences as well, where they've gone into a space that they thought was a safe and affirming space, where they would be able to receive what their other classmates had received, options, to know, like, okay, all right, my scores are stellar. I've got outstanding grades. So what are my options for this next step? In terms of me being able to reach my goals, only to have someone say, like, yeah, that's not actually for you. And so that's why it's important for our young males to be able to go in spaces where they can be appropriately represented, where they can be affirmed. And unfortunately, this was a person who was racist, and engaged in a lot of that behavior with a variety of students, but also was someone who streamlined, or not streamlined in the word, marginalized is the word I'm looking for, marginalized people into groups based on who she perceived them to be. And that bias is a powerful thing, right? And so imagine dreams deferred. Imagine the impact of that bias at such a early point in someone's career, and how much of a difference that could make in who they turn out to be. And that's why it's also important that our black males have solid support systems. You need mentors, you need coaches, you need spiritual guidance, you need people who are able to kind of stand in the gaps where you may have one. Maybe your father is deceased and you haven't had a person in your life to be able to serve you in that way. Maybe your father is absent for whatever reasons and isn't able to be there. Maybe they're incarcerated, but also maybe they're struggling with mental health issues. Maybe they are serving in the military. Maybe they work offshore. Maybe they are dealing with chronic health issues. Possibly they're in a facility where they're receiving assistance. So there's a lot of different reasons why there may be a gap. And so it's important for us to be able to have spaces where our young black males and our black males of all ages, including men, have that support system, like minds, to be able to talk, to be able to challenge them, to be able to encourage them and motivate them, to be able to sit with them in difficult times and help them problem solve, and be able to work through the challenges that can come along with marriage and raising kids and starting businesses and pursuing dreams, and dealing with racism and dealing with trauma. I think it's important that men have spaces to be able to heal from the things that hurt them, safe spaces where they can be able to address that in ways that feel comfortable for them. All the time, that isn't going to necessarily look like therapy. It might look like a barbershop. It might look like a pastoral relationship. It might look like a fraternity. It might look like another civic organization. But allowing spaces to be able to have that is so very important, because if we don't heal and we're holding on to things, and that interferes with our black males being able to have that joy, right? And so we want to be able to ensure that they know how to be able to express their hurts and their emotions, and be able to talk through things in a way that feels appropriate for them, that feels comfortable for them. Sometimes you're fighting against who people have told you are, which I think another thing that can really be important on this black male joy journey is to be able for you to say who you are and not for someone else to label you in a way that doesn't align with you, who you are. And I think sometimes it gets really frustrating when you're trying to keep telling people who you are and showing people who you are, and they keep saying, "Nah, that's not you. You're this." So it's hard to keep fighting that, because sometimes they're like, "Well, I'm gonna give you what it is you think you want from me." And so being able to have that space to be creative, to understand your identity as a man and all the different components of that, to be able to challenge maybe what other people who weren't healed told you that being a healthy man looked like, and being able to figure out when I didn't have a father who was kind and loving to me, one who was hard, and one who I felt like I always had to constantly prove myself to. One of my classmates was sharing during our 30th reunion uh, the network in which he grew up in black men in his family, how they constantly were just challenging him and picking with him, and pushing him, and not in ways that made him feel encouraged or supported or empowered, but ways that felt like they were putting him down and belittling him. And it was hurtful to him and caused him a lot of anger. Now there's a lot of things that he learned, because I think that even in communities where people are trying to teach us how to be hard, because life is hard and that's the goal of it, right? Like I want you to experience the worst things here with us as your family, who is a safe space, so we say, versus you experiencing it for the first time out here where there isn't anybody who really cares about you. And so I think that unfortunately, like sometimes people do think they're helping our young males by creating in them this kind of hardness. But that doesn't always feel good, and it doesn't always necessarily work out in the ways that people think it will. And so being able to allow men to develop all of the skill sets that they will need to be able to navigate all of the things that they will potentially face in life, but that they get to have a range, and it doesn't get to be what somebody says is what they need, but it gets to be like, hey, let me kind of figure out what that's going to look like for me. So being able to have those safe spaces to be open and honest and communicate, and be nurtured, and also held accountable, I think is really, really important part of that. We have to know our limits, and I think that that is no exception for our boys and our men. Being able to understand your limits, and that doesn't make you weak. Like sometimes there's just certain things that I am not going to be able to do that allow me to be healthy, right? So going through these phases of where, and this speaks to the labeling, you get to be the provider and the protector, and that's it. And so you don't get a chance to nurture these other aspects of you. You don't get to be that loving dad who takes his baby girl to the nail salon. You don't get a chance to be someone who gets to take a break and rest, and that you don't have to carry the load all by yourself. And when things are going on, you're able to come to a safe place and talk about that, and you get lifted back up and empowered through that, instead of you feeling like you got to carry the weight of everyone. And so knowing your limits means like, hey, like I need to also have somebody that can reciprocate. I need to have somebody that's going to show up for me. I need for you to see me as more than finances. And a lot of men will tell me, and the person that ushers the consequences in the family, that's not a great space to be in all the time. So you want to be able to have a partner who is going to walk in things with you, and who is going to back you up sometimes, and who is going to step in and take care of it and say, hey, you rest, I got this. Right, so those are important things, and also that, like, hey, when you keep messing up, doesn't mean I'm gonna keep coming over here bailing you out and being your personal ATM over here, right? Because that's not a relationship, that's a contract. But I think also for men to being able to prioritize your self care, teaching black males to look at themselves as person first. Not what you can offer people, not what you can do for people, not what your talents are, not but you are person first, and you as person has needs that you want to be taken care of. Like you need good rest, and you need to put good things into your body, not only food but also the messages that you're hearing, being affirming and positive, that you are taking those breaks, that you don't think that you have to work 7 hours, 7 days a week, for 12 hours a day, and then rewind it and do it all again, right? And this is, we saw a lot of older generations of men working themselves to death, literally. Like as soon as you get to retirement, at 70, 80 years old, now, the next couple of weeks, you have transition, because you literally weren't taking care of yourself. You weren't taking care of your heart health. You weren't checking on that prostate. You weren't checking on that blood pressure, right? And so the importance of taking care of your health, Yourself is your total person, your mental, your spiritual, your physical, your economic, your social. All of those things are very important in terms of your wellness, and freeing men up to recognize that you need to be well too. So that means sometimes choosing yourself. Sometimes you have to say, like, hey, I want to take this vacation and I ain't taking y'all with me. And it's not because I'm up to anything nefarious, but it is simply because when I take you all with me, you're still looking at me to take care of things and I don't actually get respite. When I go by myself, I can just be free, to be able to take care of me and focus on me, and allowing men to be able to have that space. I think strengthening your mental is really important as a male, a black male. Um, Needs to be able to have mindfulness, needs to be able, to read things that, stimulate your intellectual wellness, being able to navigate all of the different challenges, that problem solving, the conflict resolution, the de escalation, like all of the skills that in a given day you may have to deal with simply because someone looks at you and perceives you as a threat, to be able to advocate for yourself, to be able to be assertive. Like those things are very important. And so being able to strengthen your mind is a component of that. I do think it's also important for black males to be able to advocate for and empower other people. Like I think that's part of we talk about women a lot as being nurturers. It's very important for men too to be able to be in the role of seeing fruits of your labor, seeing, um, people strengthened by your presence, seeing people, be able to grow because of seeds you planted. Like that's an important aspect too. We talk about that purposeful living, and that's part of what I think, gives us a sense of self as well, and is a part of our identity, is being able to do things that have some significant value to other people. So being able to plant, and intend. A lot of men actually do like the garden for that very reason. It's peaceful. You get to make it your own. You see the fruits of your labor. I like if you watch Abbott Elementary. Being able to nurture that garden with Gregory. That's an important thing for him. It's a space that he also allowed some other young males to come into to grow, right? So a lot of symbolism in that. I think that it's also important for you to address all the isms you do face, to be able to understand the impact of racism on you, to be able to understand the impact of discrimination, to be able to understand the impact of bias. Because those things can set up in our bodies and cause illness, but they also can affect how we engage with other people and our ability to be able to see a variety of a scope of different aspects of ourselves. You always feel like you got to be on guard. We talk about that healthy cultural paranoia, but if I'm just living in that space of waiting on the next attack, then what is that actually doing to my body long term? And so being able to address those things in healthy ways is very important for your growth. Um, and let me say, the importance of you celebrating yourself, right? Toot toot. Go ahead and acknowledge the greatness that is you. I think that it's important for our young boys to be able to see their greatness. And I know sometimes we like, okay, it's bordering on arrogance. It's nothing wrong with a little of that, right? Is if it's an honest assessment. To be able to recognize your worth and your value and your contributions is really important. To understand who you are, and again, not be focused on who people say you're not, right? So being able to show up for yourself, that's an important part of you continuing to maintain that joy. Um, the gratitudes are super important, right? Like I think that sometimes it can be really, really difficult for us to remember the things we're grateful for, the things we did accomplish, the things that did turn out well, the things that we're proud of, the things that made us smile, the moments where we felt really connected. Um, those things are important for you to have every day, right? Or I like to say any day that ends with a Y. And I know you're like, wait, don't they all end with Ys? And they do, right? So every day is an opportunity for you to be grateful and for you to be joyful. So if you all are looking for some resources, I know I try to mix it up a little bit and give you a few different ones, but there are also ones that I just think are worth saying more frequently. But there is a commission on the social status of black men and boys, and that is actually a component of the United States Commission on Civil Rights. So when you're looking for opportunities for advocacy, how to get involved, how to get connected, that may be an option for you. As well as there is a Black Male Initiative in Georgia. And of course, you can become a part of several, 100 Black Men. You have the fraternities, you have the Masonic lodges, you have um, civic organizations who are committed to social action. Like there are a lot of different ways you can get connected in terms of doing some of that purposeful activity and pouring into other males. There are Boy Scouts, Boys to Men Development Incorporated here in Columbus. So, those are some opportunities definitely for you to get connected. With regard to kind of your own wellness, therapy for black men is one of my favorites. I mentioned that a good bit. And then there's also up some podcasts that I really like. One of them is The Breakdown with Dr. Earl that really focuses on black men and boys and your mental wellness, your spiritual wellness, your components of your life that is really important for you to nurture, that I think is an aspect of our healing, is being able to find places and spaces that validate for us that healing is something we want to normalize, that joy is something that we want to normalize, that wellness is something that we want to normalize. And so I try to expose people to potentially new ones that you haven't heard of. So I will say, as I wrap this up, hashtag Black Boy Joy, which is again to remind you as black males at the earliest end of the spectrum as black boys, to you coming into yourself as a black male, a black man, that you deserve to be able to be joyful and well and happy and healed and loved. Okay? Be well.